Hey, welcome everybody to another session of James and Jay Dissects The Walking Dead. Today we'll be talking about second half of season 4. James, how's everything going, man?
Things all right, Jay. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, doing well. So here we go. The prison has been overran and the group is on the run. What are your initial thoughts about the season, I guess?
Well, I know I said earlier last week it was one of the, it wasn't, one of my favorite seasons.
Yeah.
And a couple of my friends pointed out that I gave it a lot of credit in the early going and said I was contradicting myself. Well, obviously there's two halves to the show. So, I mean, if you take a math test and the first 8 questions you get right, you're 8 for 8. It's a 16 question test though. You have to get the next 8 questions right.
Right.
If you just go 8 for 16, that's a failing grade.
I'm not saying SATs, man. You just got a perfect score on the math and you flunk out the English part. You're not going to get it anywhere.
Exactly. So, just because you get 8 for 8 right, which the first half didn't get 8 for 8 right, they had 2 episodes that we didn't like.
Yep.
So they really only got a 75% in the first half. So if you have the first 8 that you really liked, 6 of the first 8 that you really like, you still got 8 more episodes to go. And the reason why I said this wasn't a stronger season, we're going to get into that today, because a strong first half and probably one of the greatest mid-season finales the show has ever had, if not the greatest mid-season finale of in the show's history. You got to build upon that. And I think it kind of fell off in the second half. I really liked the first half. With the exception of the governor's not even backstory, the governor's update episodes. I really liked the first half. Very creative. Scott Gimple started it off in a different direction, just like they did in season 2. It gave you, a moment of hope, and then at the end of the episode, they took all that hope away, just like in season 2 in the premiere, when Sophia gets lost and then Carl gets shot. You have all this hope, and then you just take it away. So, like Jay said, we're going to kick off the second half. And the first half, 6 out of the 8 episodes I like. Second half, they started off with comic book moment right away. Michonne goes back to the prison. This is episode 9 after. Michonne goes back to the prison. She puts down Herschel's reanimated head. She gets 2 new pet walkers. This is trivia for anybody who doesn't know. The 2 pet walkers that she got were the governor's men that were killed during the firefight. You'll see both of them when the governor is in the beginning of episode 8. The governor gives a speech to his men, and Tara's in that group as well. And one of the guys is wearing a flannel. The other one is the other walker that she has on the chain. So those 2 were her new pets in episode 9. But anyways, I liked episode 9 only because it gave us the comic book moments. Robert Kirkman wrote this episode for the comic book fans. He said he was going to write it for the comic book fans. He said he wanted to slow down. He said he wanted to show the audience just how broken up the group was. Obviously a bloody and beaten Rick. He's been shot. He almost was beaten to death. He was almost strangled to death. He's trying to find some sort of shelter with Carl. Carl is going through his preteen moments where he's challenging his father.
Yep.
Yeah, he's challenging his father's every say, and he's competitive to a fault. It was just, it gave us the comic book moments that we were looking at. I liked how they had Carl basically do the same thing he did in the comic books. When his father is trying to recover and he's unconscious, the walkers are trying to break into the house and Carl leads them away, just like in the comics. They tackle him exactly like the comics. They even show Carl throwing up just like the comic. So frame by frame, Kirkman matched that for the comic book fans. But then
I think Carl needed that too. That little comic book badassery moments in there.
I think so too. And I think that you were right the last time the last episode, and previous episodes. People didn't like Carl, but you're starting to see the growth of Chandler Riggs in the character here, because he gets stronger every season. Mm-hmm. And people forget that he was a badass in season 3. He's killing people for no reason. He's going into the prison. He's finding medicine on his own.
Yeah, just like the first opening scene, he's going clearing a room by himself with a modified silencer there.
His coming out party was when he realized that he cost Dale his life when he didn't kill that walker that was stuck in the marsh. So his coming out, I always say that these survivors shed their past lives, and unfortunately for Carl, he didn't have too much of a past life because he was such a young child in the apocalypse. Yeah. So,
one thing I do like about him, man, what they really do like about Carl is that he ties up loose ends. That's
You learn how to do that because he didn't do that in season 2. He learned quick, just like everybody else has to.
And he constantly berates his dad about that. You don't finish it, and look what happens. People die because of that. I caused Dale to die, and you caused all these other people to die. Mom, Herschel, Judith at the because they still think Judith is dead. Remember, they found the car seat with the blood in it. Yeah. So they don't know that Judith is alive at this moment. Yeah. And I'm assuming that blood came from Tyrese after he probably touched his own blood, and while picking up Judith, he probably got his own blood into the car seat. I really can't think of any other reason there would be blood inside there. I don't think a walker fell on top of it and got their own blood, or somebody else's blood, blood on top of it. So that's probably why there was blood inside of it.
I agree. I think that was brilliant, just to kind of show us that Judith may be dead, because in the comic books, in the governor's raid on the prison, Judith does die. Laurie and Judith, succumb. Judith dies in Laurie's arms. Laurie gets shot by Lily Call, due to Lily's following the governor's orders. He tells her to shoot. Lily shoots Laurie in the back. Laurie falls on top of the infant Judith and crushes her to death. So both Judith and Laurie die in this moment. So for Kirkman to come out in the mid-season finale, which again was was the best mid-season finale of the series, Kirkman showed he wanted the comic book fans to say maybe Judith did die. We can't show this on TV. We can't show walkers rip her apart.
Yeah, we can't show babies being killed. Yeah.
So it was kind of a bait and switch here, and he did that brilliantly, and then to show Carl and having those feelings, I really liked after, because not just because of Carl and Rick in the comic book moments, because Kirkman gave you the remix with Michonne, and it gave you her backstory a little bit, and this is why Jay gets upset, because they don't do enough of this where they have brief backstories or brief flashbacks. You can put as an intelligent viewer, you could put 2 and 2 together. So Michonne is artistic. She showed that in season 3. When they went back, and Clear showed that in season 3 where she got that sculpture of a cat. She's really artistic. So what did Kirkman do? He shows her backstory. Brilliant. He shows that she was artistic. They went to an art show. Mm-hmm. She's highly intelligent. The way she speaks is, she's got great etiquette. And she just, her apartment is a sky-rise apartment. She's obviously wealthy. She's obviously a career woman. Her boyfriend, he's intelligent. His friend is intelligent. Mm-hmm. These are very sophisticated people. And just to show the breakdown of society and what actually happened to those 3 and Michonne's child, was brilliant. You don't have to have a whole episode like Oceanside to do that. We keep comparing it to season 7 because there's a reason to compare it to season 7. It's 2. 1, because you have to, and 2, because it gets Jay a little bit frustrated, And but
they did it right, and one of the things they do this season is they are separated, but they all have like a common goal, and it's all like hinted at during episodes.
Yes.
Where it's like you'll see Terminus reference. It's like, oh yeah, okay, they're all going over that way.
Yep.
There's only a couple moments, and we'll talk about that as we kind of get down the episodes where it's like that's just the side one, which really didn't mean anything, just a filler episode. But for the most part, everything was tied in together where you could combine, you can see where everyone like the episodes are going together.
Yes.
Where the Oceanside one is just
yeah.
All right, so what's going on over here? Who are these people?
Mm-hmm. Right. Same thing with the junkyard dogs or whatever the hell. Right. Garbage pail kids. But Jay is right, and he's mentioned this in previous episodes. Breadcrumbs. You want to leave breadcrumbs for the viewers, and I think that in season 4 they knocked it out with the breadcrumbs. And Kirkman left you a lot of breadcrumbs throughout the season, like Jay said in terms. I liked After. This wasn't one of those episodes after a big time. You can't just. It's not all the time that The Walking Dead is going to come back. They've never come back with an action-packed mid-season premiere. They've never done that except for season 6. They've never had an action-packed, mid-season premiere for the second half of the season. And there's a reason for that, because they can't, sometimes you can't just blow somebody away so much and then try to blow them away again. It doesn't. This is when you need to start telling the back end of the season. Yep. So you have to start somewhere. And I think that it was a very great artistic filler episode. This was brilliantly placed because it came right after that intense battle. Now you kind of like slow it down and you let it drop and then rise again. And if you took film, it's called rising action. Mm-hmm. You can't rise from something that's already high. I mean, how much better?
You set the stage here. It's a different chapter now.
Perfect.
So
perfect. And so I liked After. What did you think about After, Jay? Did you like that episode, or was it something that would irritate you like Oceanside?
I thought it was good. I think there's a lot of questions that people are like, all right, now a prison is gone, everyone's split up, and they want to check in with everybody. And also, for a cast, it's large now, but it's not too large. You're not being introduced to brand new characters either. I mean, you had Tara, but you kind of have a backstory there. You're not introduced to a whole new faction or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, all within like a 2 or 3 episode span. Correct. Then you start losing track of everything. It's the core, the core characters. You know who they are, their names. You just want to make sure they're okay before you start, bringing in new people. So I liked that. I thought it was definitely fun to see them back out on the road.
Yeah, and another strong point in this episode was, Michonne has had a couple of episodes where it was like her coming out party. This was Denai Guerrero's coming out party here too, because not only did she give you that sophistication, in the flashback scenes, show you what she was all about before the apocalypse.
Yeah.
But it showed you her samurai skills. It showed you that she was battling. She was battling herself when she put Herschel down. She wanted to give up at that moment, and you touch base on that in season 5 a little bit in what she says. When she put Herschel down, she felt like she was responsible for Herschel getting killed.
Yeah.
And not only that, when she's walking with her 2 new pets, and she has the, they call it the Bizarro Michonne Walker. She sees herself as the walker, and that's when she makes the decision. I can't walk amongst the dead. I have to go back and find my friends. I have to find a reason to live. And, she tracked Rick and Carl, and it was a great moment there where they reunited. And it was her coming out party. That it was almost like her shedding her skin in a way too, because she was this cold, even though she's kind of like growing, she started to grow toward, Rick and them, with her, she started to show her emotions, with Rick and the group in season 4, and she almost regressed back into the Michonne that was cold-hearted because of what happened, because of the government.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't until she saw a Bizarro Michonne, and that's when she killed about 20 walkers, and you just fell in love with her and been like, she's the baddest motherfucker in the show.
It really is.
Everybody loves Daryl, but I tell you what, Michonne is the baddest motherfucker in the show, man. There's nobody else. And Negan, not Negan. Merle Dixon was pretty tough. Rick is pretty tough, but Michonne with that katana blade, man, she could take out 40, 50 zombies by herself if she really wanted to. I mean, she gets fatigued, but how many I mean, she's not gonna fight a herd of 1,000. But she's dangerous, and she showed it there. And
I mean,
just a great
she
episode.
fought a herd being surrounded by 20 or so there.
Yeah, man. But she's phenomenal. So Jay and I both like this episode. Episode 10 was another decent episode because it gives you the other, groups, the other duos and trios that were separated after the invasion. Started off with how did it start off, Jay? Was it with Daryl and Beth?
So there's the brief one there with them, but the next one, Inmates, it was a combination of Daryl and Beth, and also Tyrese, Lizzie, and Mika,
and Sasha, Bob, and Maggie.
Yeah,
and
so it was a little, and then Glenn too. So that was him waking up there and escaping terror. So it was a combination of everything. This was kind of a blend, and I don't mind those. It was just, like I said, checking in everybody.
And it was creatively done too, because they kind of like shuffled it. It was like time jumps here and there. Like they gave it to you in different, and they give you little hints on what event happened first. Perfect example is Daryl and Beth run into a walker, and Beth can't kill it, and Daryl comes over and kills it for her. That walker was the same walker that got bit during Tyrese, Lizzie, and Mika's story. And then Tyrese, Lizzie, and Mika step on, grapes or whatever. That showed you Daryl and Beth found the squash grapes. So it's giving you time jumps. And then, the same group, Beth and Daryl find the shoe of one of the children that were at the prison. So they knew that the children got eaten, and the children had gotten eaten during Tyrese and Lizzie and Mika's story. So it was kind of like shuffling and showing you clues, what event came first and whatnot.
But it was all tied together, It was all
and it was great. It was done perfectly done, and it's like a puzzle, and it's like one of those puzzles you want to do. Not one of those 17,000 piece puzzles, and you have no idea what the hell it is. This was a very nicely placed puzzle, and they also went back with Sasha, Maggie, and Bob. They found the bus which drove away. That means that all the Woodbury survivors that caught the flu on that bus died.
That's one way to kill off the. We don't need these random people anymore. Let's go ahead and kill them off. Bus to get them killed during the governor's fight, and get a couple more killed on the road.
Yep.
So they're gone.
They're gone. So that ended Woodbury completely, just about.
Yeah.
But I like this episode, man, because not only did we get the reveal about Judith being alive, we got Carol coming back. She had been gone for about since episode 4. So 5 episodes later, Carol comes back. She saves Tyrese and the girls.
Yeah.
Then you get the reveal that Glenn is still alive. You get the reveal that, the group, not only is the group split, but, now they get another member, like Jay said, Tara. Now she feels guilty about what happened to with the governor, and she joins forces with Glenn, and they form a great relationship here. And then it introduces three of the comic book's biggest characters in Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita. So it was a great episode altogether. It was just like, it closed that part of the story as well. Like, it showed these groups and what happened to them, but they didn't take. Now, if this was season 7, here we go again, they would have had an episode for each of these groups, and it would have dragged on and just really made the story lulling. But they did it again. They did it very strategically, and they only took 1 episode to do it. So you appreciated it, especially after.
It was you discovered who they were over time. It wasn't, like you said, it wasn't like, oh, here's these 3 new people.
Yeah.
All right, segue to a backstory of the 3. You know, then it's like, all right, and then get back into it the next episode, like a different group, and then you're all, you know, discombobulated what's going on. It's like, oh, 3 new people, cool.
Yep.
You know, they'll figure out about them as they go. So I was excited to see them too. I think they did a good job casting, obviously.
Yeah, because they knocked it dead. It was a home run, all 3 of them. Even the stance at the end was the same stance on the comic book. I mean, the comic book issue that they were introduced. They had the same exact stance as that art illustration. So they knocked it dead. Eugene looks exactly like Eugene in the comics. Abraham looks exactly like Abraham in the comics. Yeah. And Rosita looks exactly like Rosita in the comics.
Now, the comics are black and white, so you can't tell how red his hair actually is. I think it toned down later on.
But they call him red several times. So
yeah, it's pretty damn red in the series. Hey, your audio is just a little off. I'm going to hang up on you real quick and then call you back, see if that resets it.
No problem.
All right, stick with us, guys.
There you go. Still a little bit off.
Let's see if that helps.
We go live, we go back to Twitch, and everything screws up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's carry on. I mean, worst comes to worst, you get your voice recorded. It might be a lot of sync.
Okay.
But we should be okay.
So, like we said, we came back and we met Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita.
Yeah.
They knocked it dead, you know, to their comic book counterparts. This is where it started to drop a little bit. You know, you have a strong first half, and then you start off the second half pretty good. The claim group, it was just like, what the hell is going on now? You know, why do we need an episode of the claimer group? Why do we need this? This is episode 11. So
yeah,
this is when you start to say, okay, now you're kind of stretching this out in the wrong way, where you could have, you know, kind of had a different sort of episode in this fashion. You didn't have to have Rick, Carl, Michonne run into the claimers the way they did. It was very slow. You just had, you know, 2 decent episodes, and now you hit us with this claimed episode, which was like, you know, why? And then the backstory of, you know, Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene, they kind of gave you the backstory, and, you know, even that was kind of, you know, lulling, and like, all right, you know what I'm saying? You kind of like forced this episode. So I didn't like this one too much. I didn't like how they just, again, like Jay said before, introducing too much at one time and trying to give stories to things that you don't really need to give stories to. The claim group didn't have to be introduced in this way, in my opinion. And the Carl and Michonne, you know, adventure, you know, where they found an art piece and, you know, dead baby in a crib or whatever. You know, you really didn't have to have this episode to me. It was a little forced. It was one of those why, you know, to me. This is what slowed down the season. And,
yeah, I think definitely it was one of those setup episodes where it's like, all right, we want to get this through. Let's just hammer it out, basically. Let's force it in, like you said. It felt forced just to kind of set the stage once again for something else there.
Yep, and this
didn't feel organic.
Yeah. There you go. You know, Jay is right on point, man. You know, whenever you need, like, you need your co-pilot. You know, Jay's a perfect co-pilot because he, you know, when you have word vomit or you just choke on your words and shit, here comes Jay, Superman.
I got the best words.
Yeah. Articulates things very well. You know. So, you know, this was a slower episode. It just showed Glenn and Tara trying to find Maggie. Again, they show another reveal. You know, in the episode Inmates, you see the Terminus signs a little bit here. For the first time, you see the Terminus signs in this episode. I'm sorry, you see the Terminus signs in this episode for the first time. You didn't see it in Inmates. They didn't see that as of yet. Now, when you get to the claimed episode, you do see the terminus signs on the railroad tracks and whatnot. So this is telling you where the group is going to go. This ties you back to terminus. That's probably the only good thing about the episode was the terminus reveal, and now the separate groups are starting to let's go to terminus. Okay. And it gave you a little bit of Eugene being the scientist, the comic book moment there. But other than that, I didn't like this episode, man, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's some tension there, like with Rick and Beth. I thought that was different. Yeah, it did seem to be a little dragged on in places.
Yep. And the claimer group, claiming beds and fighting and just being obnoxious. You don't know what happened to the guy that they walked into the house and all of a sudden they beat somebody up, and did he die? Why did he die? It just gave too many open-ended. Of course they found the guy Rick killed turned in the bathroom, and all of it. The guy saw his face before he got choked out. I don't know, man. I put people to sleep in jiu-jitsu and stuff, but I don't know if you're going to be knocked out for that goddamn long, where Rick is going to be able to get from under the bed, choke somebody out, and run away. I think that this was a stretch. But anyways,
like a blood choke, I mean, you'll be knocked out quickly, but yeah, it's not like, well, I'll just take a nap here for a few hours.
Exactly.
If they're out after getting like a blood choke for that long,
yes,
something went wrong. And they might be dead.
This person is going to be a walker. Let's just put it that way. Right. If you choke them that good, that person, Rick choked the guy too. And you see what happened to the guy Rick choked. His ass died. Yeah. This guy would be dead too. So I think that was a stretch. And then for the guy to come to consciousness and realize it was Rick's, Rick who I just, whatever. So
I feel like it's like super easy to track people somehow.
Yeah, and it's just like with walkers, I know you have a lot of trackers. There's a lot of people that I know. I know a couple of people that are actually good trackers. They track deer and whatnot. But when you have so many walkers, and you got Rick and Michonne and Carl. Now you got 3 sets of footsteps and all this other stuff, and deer and walkers and the claimer group and Daryl. For real, you're gonna find Rick
like miles away, I mean, I guess it looked like they saw Terminus. They're probably heading that way, so it's kind of head that way too. But, I mean, the fire probably gave them away too out on the road.
It was a stretch, and then so I think Jay and I both have the same sentiments here about the episode. Goes into everybody was excited about this episode because it was like a Daryl bottle episode, and I hated it. This was another episode. This is like season 7. You have two back-to-back, lulling, slow episodes, and then you give us an episode that's Daryl exclusive. Mm-hmm. Daryl and Beth, and it just started off really good. With the moment with them in the trunk, and the Walker herds walking by and whatnot, and he starts to show you the relationship between Daryl and Beth, but it just became just weird and strange, and people want to get drunk, and they get drunk on moonshine, and
and that's one scene there. That's Jay's gonna call it out. If that's the first alcoholic drink is wood made moonshine, you're not gonna just chug it down and be like, please let me have another one. I'd probably throw up just by smelling that crap.
That shit's been sitting there fermenting too. Come on, man. And Beth has never had a drink before. Her ass is over the side of the window throwing up on that walker, man. She's not
burned so bad. Oh my god! And that's one thing I do look like. Whenever I always pay attention to alcohol when people drink it during TV shows or movies for some reason or another, because it's who I am. I'm always looking at the reaction. If they don't have any reaction, you're like, oh, that's iced tea. Get that out of there. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
They should just replace that with like some like vinegar. So you get the actual, reaction like, oh, all right, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and then the whole moment when they went into the clubhouse on that that golf course, whatever they were on. Mm-hmm. Again, this episode didn't need to be. I know they wanted to give fans, that Daryl exclusive episode that everybody wanted, But going to a country club and finding peach schnapps and beating up walkers with a golf club, and Beth, showing that she wanted to drink and she wanted to, she could survive without Daryl. It's building up their relationship a little bit. But then they had that stupid fucking game where they put their hands up and, what did you do?
Oh, never have I ever? Yeah.
Yeah, never have I ever. And, they did tie in to the first episode where the kid was trying to figure out what Daryl did for the turn. And the reveal was Daryl was just a bum, just hanging out with his brother and doing nothing, which wasn't really a big reveal because that was stupid. It was kind of like it wasn't even, that it felt lazy. Why would you make him not do anything? Why wouldn't you make him, I was a hunter. I was an avid hunter, or I fish. Give him something else than just being a goddamn bum.
Yeah, I let people on hunting games or something.
I was a loser.
Yeah. And then like one of the things she said was like, I've never been drunk and got arrested or something like that. And it's like, you never drank before. Of course, that's cheating. Of course you never. Get out of here.
And then never been to jail. That's when the moonshine hit Daryl finally. He had about 8 glasses.
Oh yeah, now he went all emo over there. Yeah. I want to take a piss in the corner. Oh great.
He's still an awesome shot. He's shooting walkers wherever he wants to, and the walkers don't kill them for being intoxicated and stumbling everywhere. They don't do that, for some reason.
And then the scene where like he's like forcing Beth to like shoot the crossbow. That's an awkward scene. It's like
that was
borderline like rapish almost. Like holding her against her will. That's not cool at all.
Yeah, Daryl, it was a little bit touchy-feely for me too, bro. I mean, the women, a lot of women probably like that though. You got some women who like that rough stuff, man. I'm not gonna. Hey, Beth probably, she might have just said, "Hey, Daryl, kinky," So no, maybe she liked it.
But I think he took that definitely like drunk dick, forcing someone to do something against their will. There, it's like awkward as shit.
And then you like how they sobered up too, within hours.
Yeah,
they sobered up and had a great heart-to-heart conversation. There's no more walkers. They burned down a house.
Just went about their ways. No hangover. I mean water, so they're freaking dehydrated as all kinds of hell. So,
again, the 2 straight episodes, I was like, strong points of the episode. They connected the story of Daryl. Weak point, strong and weak all in one. They made Daryl a loser. Maybe they could have done. Maybe he fixed bikes. He's always with bikes. Maybe they could have said, he fixed bikes. He was a mechanic or something. Something
like
else.
Odd jobs, like it just bounced around. I was a mechanic for like a couple months, and then Merle wanted to leave the state or something because he had a warning for his arrest. So he never left the state. But he had to leave the county or something like that, so he left the county. Then.
Oh, another trivia thing. Daryl, this is a Breaking Bad connection here. Daryl references Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad, and also connects the blue meth that he had in episode season 2, episode 1, when he gave T-Dog the dicycline chlamydia clap medicine that Merle Dixon had. But he told the story about a janky white guy who called him a bitch, and that's Jesse Pinkman. The meth dealer was, Jesse Pinkman in the blue meth, and he used the word bitch all the time. He called everybody bitch. So it's kind of like a shout out to Breaking Bad there. Very, very creative. That might have been the best part of the episode to me.
Well, plus there's that theory out there that somehow Breaking Bad caused The Walking Dead.
Which I hate that theory. It's stupid as hell. If people say that to me, and I just tell them stop. Just stop, please. For real. No. So again, strong points of the episode. They kind of, closed loose ends. Tied up loose ends a little bit here. They showed you the smoke, which you'll see later on. Mm-hmm. Next episode was Alone. It's a little bit better than the last episode. Had a great song in the beginning. Blackbird song by DeWeezy. That's on my track list. So check out the website. You'll see the track list. That's up there.
Yeah,
That's a great
speaking of
song.
music, I didn't like the closing music to Beth and Daryl's
No, I didn't like
episode.
that either. That's why I didn't mention that crap.
Yeah, it didn't fit for me. I was like, I'm just not feeling it at all for
And
one reason
and
or
when
another.
they gave the middle finger, that was the worst middle finger I've ever seen anybody give. Daryl's middle finger looked stupid. Why would you do that?
Does he give like one of those where it's like the fingers are like all like up
Yeah,
though
it's like
somehow, where it's like,
like
yeah, it's like
a
what is
Ninja
this?
Turtle. Come
It's
on,
like
man.
the Ninja Turtle.
I'm Raphael. Come
Oh,
on. I want to see that. So,
right?
but anyway, Alone, Sasha, Maggie, Bob,
Hmm.
great scene in the beginning with Bob. Another one, breadcrumbs. You don't have to have a whole episode about Bob. Just say what happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see he's alone. That was brilliant. He runs into Daryl and Glenn. He tells them, "Hey, I was with two groups, and I was with one group, and then I was with another." And then they asked him the three questions, which I love. How many walkers have you killed, and how many people have you killed? And then he said one, and they asked him why, and it was great. He said because she asked me to.
Hmm.
Bob is Bob. He drank the bottle of NyQuil. Showed that he was an alcoholic. He's very crafty. He doesn't smile because he's alone. I thought that was great, and then it turned into Maggie, Sasha, and Bob being attacked. I
Hmm.
thought that was great in the fog, and
Oh, the Fox scene, that was amazing. Yeah.
it was amazing. And guess what, people? If you like breadcrumbs and you like foretelling of events to come, Bob got bit on the same shoulder he did in season 5. So Bob gets bit right on his bandage, but it's the same exact shoulder he gets bit on later in the next season. So it's almost like telling you this is how he's going to die.
Should have
And,
kept it
and
on.
exactly. And it was a great moment there. Then you go back to Daryl and Beth, and they get a little bit closer. They find a funeral home, which nobody knows who had the funeral. That was weird. They
Yeah,
find
it's
this.
still a mystery as far as I know.
It's not closed. It's one of those loose ends that they don't tie up. And what does Abraham say? Loose ends make my ass itch. So, it's this is how you kind of get confused with things. Now you got a funeral home where it's obviously freshly stocked. Where's the person at?
Hmm.
Daryl and Beth, they're getting closer. Beth sings one of the songs on her album in real life, which is what the hell is that song called? Will Be Good. So that's the name of the song. You can look it up on YouTube. Again, Maggie leaves Sasha and Bob. She finds the terminus sign. She tells Glenn to find her. They reunite at the end. But then Daryl, he loses Beth, to a car with a cross on it.
I still don't understand. So, friggin'. So what happened there? She got hit by the car or something, or she was running and.
Okay, so this is a spoiler warning for our next season that's coming up, but we'll talk about it now because we're assuming that everybody who's watching us watches The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they're caught up. Yeah.
So, what happened was, we'll take you back. This is like a review of the episode, but it's needed. Beth and Daryl are in this funeral home. Walkers invade the funeral home. Daryl says to Beth, "I'll catch up with you." Sends her outside. Beth is outside. Now, they didn't show what happened, but in season 5, Beth tells, Dawn and, Dr. Edwards, she says, "I was fighting with walkers and I fell. I blacked out." So obviously she was in a fight, and then that's when that guy Gordon and another one of the cops, they were scavenging. They saw, Beth fighting, and came over, saved her life, took her back to the hospital. So that's what happened.
Black out. Like, does it?
She must have, I don't know what the hell happened. Again,
I think they're saying like she was like dehydrated. She was beaten up. It's like they were just.
It's impossible that she had all that food. She couldn't have been dehydrated. She's just crazy. She's probably just crazy. She's probably just saw the walker and fell.
Fetal position.
But the best part about this episode, was the Terminus reveal. Another good, and then at the end of the episode, the Claimers find Daryl. Daryl punches one of them in the face, and they say, "Hey, now you're one of us." Why didn't they kill Daryl? Because he punched the leader in the face, and they don't kill him.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Maybe the church was like one of the fallback plans for the hospital group. Because I mean, why else are they on that road? That seems like an odd road to like randomly go on.
True, but why? Maybe, but why were the walkers, dressed up? You know what I'm saying? I don't think that the hospital group or the Claimers were that,
sentimental about that.
Yeah. Almost autistic. Why would you dress up, walk? It's almost like something a highly intelligent person would do, and a person that had mental instabilities. Why would you risk your life, to bring to kill a walker and then to dress it up? It's weird.
Yeah.
So that was, you got 3 straight episodes where people can actually hate them. I didn't mind this one, but I didn't think it was a strong episode. So I was just like, okay, now Beth is gone, so now we got to find out what happened to her. Daryl's with the Claimers. Bob, Maggie, and Sasha are going to Terminus. All right.
And then I was like, you set the cans up there, and like you see a dog once, and then you assume it's a dog, and all of a sudden there's like, 100 zombies out there.
Yeah, 20 walkers out of nowhere. You don't hear them. You don't see the shadows before you open the door. It was almost like they got too comfortable.
Or they're not knocking on the door or something,
Yeah, growling. See what I'm saying? This is why the episode can be considered not that great. Yeah. When it starts to mess with your head and make you say, what the hell is going on here? But it kind of slows down the pace of a somewhat strong season. You got back-to-back-to-back episodes where you're like, all right now. It's 3 episodes talking about Daryl and Beth and Bob, Maggie, and Sasha. This is 3 episodes talking about this shit. But this is, to me, this was, other than the mid-season finale and the Herschel episode, interment, this might have been, to me, this is the second best episode of the season, was The Grove.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Scott M. Gimple episode. One of the questions was, can we start, not questions, but a suggestion was, can we start pointing out the Gimple episodes?
The Gimple episodes are the ones we like.
There you go. Scott M. Gimple wrote this episode. He wrote the mid-season finale. He wrote the season premiere. He wrote the Merle episode where he dies to the governor. He wrote the reveal of Sophia being in the barn. He wrote Better Angels where Shane died. I mean, he writes the best episodes there is. He wrote Killer Within when Lori died. This guy, Scott Gimple, that's why he was promoted.
Which is almost too bad, where it's like he has written a lot in season 7, which goes to tell you something there. But yeah, this one was amazing. Even it's not progressing the main storyline as much, but I mean, this is the type of battle episodes that I would be fine with.
This was an incredible battle episode. It tied up Lizzie and Meek. It tied up Lizzie being a psychopath.
Yeah, there were the trails. There was rats to the walkers. There was a chopped up
rabbits.
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 Yep. Like when Daryl and Beth cross paths there, a few hours are behind them. there was like those baby bunnies chopped up in the tree trunk there.
And that was Lizzie slitting their throats.
And awesome job once again casting and the child actors. I mean, I've seen some shows with child actors just ruin everything because they're so horrible,
but these two knocked it dead. And Carol even explained their personalities. One can't kill anything, you know, and the one can kill walkers, but won't kill something living like a deer. The other one will kill the living, but won't kill the dead. And they're just so fucked up. But this was incredible because, you know, it gave you the reveal that Carol killed, you know, Karen and David. It gave you the end of Lizzie's story. You know, Carol had to actually kill. This was a controversial episode because it showed you an adult killing a child, you know, shooting her in the back of the head.
I mean,
it showed you a child. It showed you a child. Yeah, it shows you a child killing a child. You know, Lizzie killed her sister just so she can come back as a walker. The beginning of the episode showed you Lizzie playing tag with a walker. It was a very, very controversial episode, but it was brilliant. You know, I mean, this is what will happen. People will lose their mind in apocalypse. You know, mental sickness is very relevant. People go crazy, you know, and
something like this is going to, you know, God knows, you know, exponentially, you know, increase the effects of that. I mean, Jesus, if you thought about murder before and now daily killing, you know, walkers or seeing people die, forget about it, you know.
There you go. And it showed you that she was obsessed with the walkers. Like she named them in episode 1. It closed everything up. And we like that. We like when a story gets and is done brilliantly, not only just closed up, but it's done in a very good way. And you know, they go to the grove and they think that they could stay there, and you know Carol is being eaten alive by this guilt. You had a small herd attack where Lizzie actually had to kill walkers. Lizzie's going crazy over when people kill walkers.
Does she I thought there was one scene where Carol kind of gives her a look as like Lizzie's like unloading, but it's like, are you actually shooting them, or is she just like shooting to make it look like, you know what I mean? Once the burned up zombie or walkers, you know, approach them.
Yeah, I don't think she was shooting them to kill them. I think that she said it to Tyrese. She shot the girl in the head. You know, Tara's girlfriend. She said, I didn't mean to shoot them in the head. I wanted them to turn. Yeah. And you know, it goes back to what Carol said. She's confused. So she shot them in the head, but she was shooting the walkers in the body. You understand? So she wants the walkers to continue to exist, and she wants people to become walkers.
And she does make like a logical point there, almost, where it's like, well, I'll get older, but I'll be different. You know, just like the walkers. And to her, I mean, sometimes once that you make that logical connection there, you know, your brain's like, yes, this makes sense.
And she made the logical connection in episode 1 when Carl was like, walkers, they kill people. She goes, people kill people. Yeah. So she not only told Carl that people kill people, but she basically foretold what was going to happen with the governor. She basically told him, you know, you guys are worried about walkers, but yet people are a bigger threat. And she was right, you know. And obviously she was right in this episode because she killed her sister and Carol killed her. There was no walker kills in this episode, and that was brilliant. That proved her point. You have this child who we think is crazy, which she is, but she proved the point by saying the walkers have not hurt us, but we can hurt us. And she proved that throughout the episode. So, I mean, Scott Gimple was brilliant. This was like I said, this might have been the second best episode. Interment was a close second. But this behind the mid-season finale, in my book, just how it was written and how controversial it was and how direct to the point it was, I think that this was great. And it was a great change from back to back to back episodes where you're like, what's going on with this this season had a lot of promise, and now it's kind of falling apart here.
It's definitely probably my favorite for the second half.
We talked about this, and I think that we talked about this when the season was. We both loved it. So you know, now that we're reviewing it years later, we still love it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and watching it a second time around, we love it even more. You know, so now you go from a great episode to Us, and you know this. They got too many stories going on in this episode. They got Glenn and Tara meet up with, you know, they leave Eugene, Rosita, and Abraham. Eugene makes them, you know, basically drive around in circles because he spots Glenn and Tara.
I do want to point out there was one scene. I'm not sure if it was this episode or previous episode where so chokes Kelsey up over here and me a little bit. Not gonna lie, where they're walking and then they see, you know, blood on the sign there saying, you know, Glenn, you know, find me here at Terminus or something like that.
This was this episode. This was the
Glenn
episode.
just like, you know, sees it and just, you know, takes off sprinting down the road, just like a little smile on his face. I was like, that'll get you right in the feels.
Because that's when he saw the sign at the end of Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you had the Grove. This was the moment after he saw the sign.
Yeah.
He takes off running. You know, he gets into a fight with Abraham, which was good. You know, shows him, yeah, I don't care how big you are, and you can't force me to go with you.
Yeah.
And you know, it was a good moment, and also a foretelling moment this was a premonition of his death. You know, he had a near death again in the cave, almost dies.
Yep.
And then, you know, he had that picture the whole season of Maggie. And what the fuck does Maggie do? She burns the picture and said, "You will never need a picture of me again." Pictures became a big part of Glenn. You know, he saw the pictures of the bash heads. Mm-hmm. So every time he had a picture, it was kind of like linked together that was it. That was the last picture he would ever have of Maggie. She burned it once they reunited. Obviously, Daryl was traveling with the Claimers. One of the Claimers hates him, and they fight over a rabbit. You know, the Claimer tries to set Daryl up. It was just too much for me. The only part that I liked of this whole episode was the reunion of Glenn and Maggie. I didn't like the Claimers with Daryl. I didn't like the goose hunt and, you know, the duck chase or whatever they were doing with Glenn, Abraham, Tara, Rose. I didn't like that. Mm-hmm. I just felt that it was a big letdown after the Grove. And, you know, when they all got back together again, and now they're all going to Terminus together. So now you have this big group going to Terminus. And then you have the Claimers on Rick's trail, and Rick and Michonne are going to Terminus. You know, everybody's going to the same place. So I kind of like that too. But the rest of the episode, I just think that in a pendulum episode, and I always talk about this, when you have the episode before the season finale, you need to have a strong setup. You have to set the episode up. And I don't think that this was a strong enough setup. You know, they went to Terminus and, you know, they invited them in and said, "Oh, come on in." You know, I just felt like they could have did better, you know.
And for a group that's like supposed to be like on edge at Terminus, you know, because they were, spoiler alert, that they were taken over before. They just have like the gates unlocked and just kind of like let yourself on in, or like a herd of zombies. Go ahead, because there's no latching. It's just a loose chain that they get pushed through easily.
And what group did Glenn and Maggie come from again? Oh, the prison group. How come Rick, Michonne, and Carl know to sneak into a place because they don't trust anybody? They've been asking people 3 questions the whole freaking season, and they walk right in the front door to Terminus? How come Rick and Michonne and them know to sneak in the back door?
Right.
The whole group of them sneak in no, they don't sneak in the front door. They come in the front door and ask for food. I'm like, this is great. Wait a second.
Like when we went to Woodbury, you know, they just like walk in and like, "Hey, let's talk to the governor."
Hey, what's cooking?
I heard you guys got our friends over here. You want to have a chat? Nope. You know.
So again, slow, and then this was to me gave us that comic book moment, another controversial moment, but I love it. Where the Claimers actually catch up with Rick.
Mm-hmm.
He bites the throat out of the Claimers.
Yes.
He turns into badass Rick there. The blood on his face, the rabbit dog look. Tells Daryl basically, he's his brother.
Yep.
Saves Carl from being raped. They basically go nuts and kill the Claimers off. So they close that horrible, storyline.
Kelsey loves the scene where he bites a guy in the neck, and it's the call to walkers. It's what they do. They bite.
That's what they do.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man. And
gotta do what you gotta do to survive. And that was his only option at the time. And his hands were pinned down. You're watching your son about to get sexually. I would do the same thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm a parent, and if that's the only way I'm going to be able to defend my offspring, I'm gonna do it. Anybody would.
Yeah.
And they took care of the Claimers. He mauled the second guy. He went crazy. It kind of like caused Carl to see that his dad was a badass.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the scene from the church later on with Sasha.
Yes.
She had the same kind of, I was going to stab you until you're mush,
Yeah, it's because they killed her boyfriend. We'll get into that next episode 5, season 5. But is right again, right on the head. But that was a great start to it. When they got to Terminus, obviously they snuck in. You knew something
before they got there. Can we talk about the guy out in the field?
Yeah, that's another. What the fuck is going on here?
Come on, man! You're telling me that you survived this long and you're out in the field and you're just like, well, I have a little opening here. I'm just gonna kind of scream and then just let them take me out.
And where did he come from? Was he running from Terminus? He wasn't running from Terminus because they were locked down. You can't escape Terminus.
Yep.
He's not really running from a random place by himself. I didn't understand it. Again, this was something that they just threw in there and they didn't have to. There was no reason for it. It was this. And this is the finale of the season, so it's like you really don't have to throw in anything in the finale. You can just make it a finale and make it great. You don't have to throw pieces in because it's kind of weak.
Yeah.
But the end, when Rick and them, they're suspicious of the Terminites, and Rick notices the backpack and he notices the riot gear. And he sees the watch. That's what really he saw the poncho, and then he saw the watch.
Yeah, where it's like, all right, maybe someone had that backpack. It's pretty popular. Riot gear. All right, maybe there's another prison, something else.
Poncho.
Now we're starting to get up there.
Watch. Nope.
Yeah.
And that's when he flipped the script, and again, the Terminites, they purposely lure Rick out into the open, and then they place him into a stock car, and that's when the group is reunited. Everybody except for Carol, and Tyrese, and Judith.
Yeah.
Everybody except those 3 are in the stock car, and that's very important that Carol, Tyrese, and Judith aren't in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we assume you're watching the show. If not, if you haven't watched the show and you're watching this,
why are you watching this?
What are you doing?
I guess one question, they're smart, let's not go through the front gates. But I've probably been like, all right, guys, I'm Rick. I'm gonna go in there by myself. If I'm not back here in 2 hours, something bad happened. So come save my ass.
And Carl, hey, look, I'm back in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it's not like they didn't have that knowledge. They didn't have that foresight to do it. Just dropped. And I think that this episode, especially that it ended on a cliffhanger and they didn't give you that scene where I remember in Breaking Bad, they dropped the F-bomb a couple of times. Yeah. I think you're allowed 1 F-bomb per year if you put in for it.
Yeah.
For him not to say they're fucking with the wrong people and, you're waiting for it because it's coming. And for him to say they're messing with the wrong people and for them to be in the stock car and to be a cliffhanger really made you think.
And the setup, too, where it's just like, I forgot what he said, like, they're going to feel real stupid. Yeah. And then, like, Abraham come from the shadows like, why is that?
Yeah.
It's
like almost like he knew that Carol was gonna save him in that sense. Spoiler alert, but come on.
I mean, hell, she didn't come. They've been done
They would
for.
be dead. It would be over.
Like you would have felt stupid.
Yeah, you would have been dead.
You know, you didn't do anything.
No. So again, sets up for season 5, which was the biggest episode ever. Biggest most viewered watched episode in the series was the season 5 premiere. We'll get into that next week. But as you see, when I said that it was a weaker season, just because you have 6 out of 8 of the first episodes that were really good, Jay and I really found 3 episodes that were really good in the back half. Mm-hmm. So 9 out of 16 episodes are great. But the other 7 are questionable, with 2 that were totally useless.
Yeah.
You can't have, in my opinion, to have a great season, you have to be more consistent, and you have to be able to, strategically place, slower episodes so they can kind of flow into the better episodes. You can't have back-to-back-to-back episodes. You can't have weak season finales. You can't have weak pendulum episodes. You can't have episodes that, a bottle episode just to appease the fans that isn't good.
I would say that the Beth and Dare episode felt the most like season 7 to me. It just felt out of place. The pacing was off. The writing wasn't that good,
and it was forced. It was 100% forced. Both of these characters aren't even in comic books, so you can't compare it to comic book moments or anything. So, overall, I mean, it wasn't the worst season. I still think it was better than season 3. I still think it's better than season 7. But, it's, out of 7 seasons, it's in the back end. It's not the strongest. It was still enjoyable. Like I said, Jay and I, there are 2 episodes in this season, The Grove and, Too Far Gone. Probably the 2 of the top 10 episodes in The Walking Dead. You're talking about at least one of the top 10 episodes in the Walking Dead series in Too Far Gone, and then probably one of the top 5 bottle filler episodes in The Grove. You got those 2 episodes. You got a strong first half.
Yeah. There's definitely like a plateau of like really good episodes. A dip there with the governor.
Yep.
Then a giant peak there with Too Far Gone, and then a mild dip there for the rest of the back end there, season 4. But then you get this giant peak again in the Grove, and and some of the other ones were up and down, up and down.
Yep.
Whereas like season 7 is just like, here's a giant mountain peak, and then down into the Grand Canyon, and then wait till the other side, and all right, we're back up to the other side of the Grand Canyon. These ones were, on average, definitely a lot better. I think there are a couple, weak ones like we were talking about. The Beth and Daryl one, I think, missed, unfortunately. But
they missed it. They could have actually combined that with Alone. Mm-hmm. They didn't have to have that. That to me, like we both can agree to that. And then the Us episode, the Governor episodes, they really dropped the ball with that. I really hope that they learn their lesson when it comes to Negan's backstory. They can't do that again to Negan. Negan is you can't.
What they don't need to do is they don't need to show present Negan. It's like they didn't need to show the present governor. Go back and show us the past governor. Where did he flip? And
show
then,
him make Lucille.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and then it's like the last 5 minutes show. Here he is giving a new pep rally to his guys. So like, okay, now I get it. This is where he was. This is how he got here. This is where he's going. Not, this is, random group of people that he meets somehow. But
all in all, like I said, the weakest season in my opinion is 7. The second weakest is 3. Then comes 4. I'm big on the premieres and the finales. I always, any show you watch, those have to be your strongest episodes. But You can't just have those as your strongest. You have to have, just like the first part of the season 4 was very good. It was captivating.
Yeah.
You have to make the viewer prepare themselves for this great finale or premiere. The one thing that the cliffhanger did here in it didn't piss us off like the cliffhanger in season 6. You knew that they were in a stock car. You knew that Carol and Tyrese were gone. You knew that they were going to have to formulate a plan to leave the stock car. Yeah. You knew it was an against all odds situation. It wasn't as if they cut the scene off with Rick running toward the fence and then it just turned black and you heard Gareth said, "Samurai." You had the moment where you said, okay, this is leading into season 5. I'm okay with this because I know season 5 they're going to have to get out of this predicament.
Or even worse, if they go to the trough scene there where Gareth hits somebody in the head, you don't see who, and then there's a massive blood spray hits the camera, and then Perfect. That's it. That's it. Like, what is this? What's going on?
That would have been the worst. I still think season 6 would have been worse than that. I don't even care. Season 6 was they dropped that ball. Man, that shit fumbled all over the place. But I didn't mind it. Because it's set up for a great premiere in season 5, which we'll get into next week.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, how do you take this? It's almost like, if you watch the Super Bowl, if you're a football fan, and you watch the Super Bowl and the last Super Bowl with the Falcons and the Patriots, like you go up 28-3. All you have to do is, run the fucking ball. The Patriots can't stop you. You just run the ball. Keep Tom Brady on the sideline. Don't let him come out.
Yeah.
It was like this season was the Falcons. Like, what are you doing? Come on. You lost this shit. And you had a 28-3 lead and somehow lost the season. Like, what? How did this happen?
What I do like, though, and I keep going back to it, is time to lose signs. There's the first half is its own story.
Yep.
The second half, all right, they're on the road. By the end of it, they're off the road. The claimers, they're done. They're done. That's tied up. Who's that person who's killing all the animals? Yeah, we figure that out. It's done. You said that Tyrese and Judith and Carol question mark, but where they are currently.
Correct. And you also know that the Karen who killed, Carol finally revealed to Tyrese she killed Karen. Loose end tied up. That's the one great thing about this season was they did tie up loose ends. They definitely did that. And the way they did it was unbelievable. They also had great flashbacks other than the governor. They did very well with Michonne flashback to me.
Yeah. I guess the only we don't know is Beth. She's in a cross, vehicle.
But that's another thing. Beth got kidnapped. We're gonna have to come back to it. Yeah. It wasn't like Daryl just came outside and all of a sudden it cut to Bob, Maggie, and Sasha. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They led you into what was to come.
And then they showed you everyone in the container. Saying, here's everybody.
Yep.
Let's do a head count basically. All right, this is where everybody's currently at right now.
Yep. And it was just it was exciting. It had exciting moments to start. Overall, like I said, very strong first half. The strongest mid-season finale in the history of the show. One of the strongest filler bottle episodes in the history of the show. Another great filler bottle episode with Herschel. Scott Wilson was incredible in this season. MVPs of the season. Scott Wilson has to be up there.
Oh yeah.
He might be the MVP of the season. I know he died early. The second one, I would have to give it to. I'm gonna have to go on and give it to Michonne. And then Bob Stuckey. He started off slow. They kind of strayed away from his alcoholism, but I think we started to like Bob Stuckey toward the end.
Yeah. He had a little lightheartedness too, which the show needed.
but
Where
he
it's like, hey, I'm
also
just glad not to be alone. You know.
exactly, and you know, once you get that, you know, that, you know, the morality to you, and you know, you're about hope in this series. Once you start to realize that there's some hope in the world, that's when you die.
Yeah, and exactly. You're enjoying life too much. We need to kill you.
That's it. So
I'd also throw in the girls.
Lizzie
So
and Mika, honorable mentions, correct.
particularly, you know, like Lizzie's acting. There's just one scene where she's freaking out at Carol, like after the zombie that was chasing her, and she's just freaking out, like, "Why'd you kill her?" It's like, damn,
How
it's good
about her
acting.
facial expressions, man?
Yeah,
She had the look of a psychopath.
yeah.
I'm
It's
going to
like
put it
great
out there.
casting job. Like, both of them have like the bone structure of their faces, where it's like Mika, you know, it's like, oh, she's so cute and innocent, and Lizzie, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, narrow.
you're gonna be trouble.
Yeah, and she even played an act. She was even an actress in the show, because she was faking that she was sick. Um,
Hmm.
she faked that she was sick, and you know, she was almost like a, you know, this was very creative of Kirkman. And, you know, brings up a good point at how good she was. Kirkman made her like a villain. This was a villain in the show, and she had all the characteristics of a villain. She was, you know, she was evil, you know, but you understood her, but she had a darkness to her. She had a weakness. Look at the flowers, Lizzie. That was her weakness. That was her kryptonite. That was the way to get her, you know, make her vulnerable, you know, to kill her. So she had a weakness like a supervillain. She, you know, she was a killer of living creatures. She sided with the enemy and the walkers.
Yeah.
You know, she was a liar. She was a manipulator.
Yeah.
Um,
And we should actually point out that the comic tie-in too.
the two brothers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So in the
Two
comics, like, and I like how they do this too, where it's not one to one necessarily, but there's definitely you know, instead of going A to B, it's A to C for the show. Where in the comics, this was early on, where the twins, one of the twins carves up his brother, right, in the back of the van or something like that, and then
Back and Carl kills him.
yep, badass Carl was like, I needed to, I had to. It's fucking crazy.
Well, and it kind of gave you a hint that Carl didn't like Lizzie and Mika, so it was almost like, you know, for comic book readers, you knew that Carl had, you know, a conflict with the brothers, and in the show he had a conflict with Lizzie and Mika, even though it was subtle. It was almost like a paying homage to, you know, Carl did not like these girls. Another big thing is, you know, they did this several other times. You know, we talked about Bob Stuckey.
Yep.
They reversed his character. He was a younger black male, where Bob Stuckey in the comic book was an older white male. Mm-hmm. Deanna Monroe and, you know, her husband. Yeah. You know, in the comic books, it was Douglas Monroe and his wife.
Swap. Yep.
Yep, gender swap there. You know, so they do it like Jay said. You know, they flip flop them, you know, just to keep you guessing a little bit, but also to make you realize, oh, this is who it was in the comic book. You know, they also combine characters. You know, Sasha is an indirect combination of Andrea. And she's also you know, Andrea falling in love with Dale. Dale got eaten by the Terminites. So Sasha falling in love with Bob. Bob got eaten by the Terminites. Both of them were snipers. You know, so he kind of combines characters as well. You know, even though they have Dwight, you know, they gave you an alter ego of Dwight and Daryl. You know, and that's how he made Daryl. So just different things, you know, that they like to do in the show, and that was really good point that Jay made. Another great point.
So I'm here, man.
No, man. You know, but got some questions. Basically, you know, one of it was a suggestion that we talk about the Scott Gimple episodes. So from now on, we'll be sure to point them out.
Yep.
That was a great suggestion. We like that. A was actually written by Scott Gimple and Angela Kong, mainly Angela Kong. Scott Gimple did help. This was his coming out party here before he was giving the reins a little bit more in season 5, 6, and 7. Question here. I think I might have answered it already. Were Lizzie and what was the relationship between Lizzie and Mika and their comic book counterparts? We already talked about that.
Oh, sorry, kind of stole that one.
Yeah, but that Jay already he has premonition or something like that. Something's going on down there in Texarkana. I just don't know what they're eating down there at the Waffle Houses.
Case was I'd say healthy, but happy at least.
Another one is the backpack. Where did we see the backpack from?
Oh,
I can't put my finger on it. That's a great question. The backpack is from the survivor in the episode Clear, the one that ran down Rick's car and couldn't catch up with Rick, and then the walkers ate him.
Man, that one still gets me, man. I don't know what I would have done there. I might have picked him up and thrown him in the trunk and be like, "Listen, we got shit we got to take care of."
Yeah, this is a question that I saved because this is one of the ones that Jay says, it kind of bothered him. So I saved it because I knew he was going to say that. This question was a great question, but this ties into, Jay saying he didn't like that scene because they left the guy there, and then they stole his backpack.
Yeah, that's a dick move, man.
But you know what? That came in handy because Glenn used it, and then Rick was able to identify it in Terminus. So
I would say, like, if I didn't see that guy on the road, I didn't help him out. Sure, if I found a loose backpack, I would grab it too. But not helping the guy out on the road and then seeing him chewed up later on, man, I can't believe he's not like sitting like. Whew.
That is kind of a dick move, but. Hey, they were at that point, man. They can't trust anybody. You got Andrea, sleeping with the governor and the governor shooting people and stuff. You can't trust anybody.
Hey, they need bodies, to help protect them. Rick was a little crazy still, too, so.
He was, man. He just lost his wife and shit, and he's all going.
And he already had him shown with them, which they didn't trust. They were talking about, like, as soon as we're done with this, we're ditching her, basically. We're not going to keep her around. So.
And they had Merle Dixon.
Yeah.
So good question, good tie-in to season 3 and 4. Another good question here. We talked about this. We're both going to give you our answers. I'm going to let Jay start with it because he has his thoughts on it. I have mine.
Yeah.
It's Michonne's backstory. Who were the two men at the table, and does this explain the story of what happened to him? So basically they're asking, the backstory that we saw, was this Michonne's family and what happened to him? And does this explain what she said in season 3, why they're worthless or, some people deserve to die? So I'll let Jay start off with that one.
All right, so the two people from the backstory, I think I was explaining where it was her boyfriend and then their friend.
Yep.
And those obviously became the chained walkers that she carried around with them.
Correct.
And his irony is that they failed to protect her baby, but they did succeed in protecting her, and then obviously the walker form.
Yep.
So there was definitely irony there. As far as people who deserve to die, I don't know. That's a tough one. If she actually feels like they deserved what they got, I think there's a lot worse people out there that deserve to die. Governor, Negan obviously included. But as far as making a mistake and accidentally getting someone killed, but that's tough. I want to say that she felt like they deserved it, but I think this fate kind of found its way to punish them, where she didn't feel guilty about them dying.
Okay.
I don't think she would have killed them herself, but the way
I
it
agree.
happened, she didn't really feel like, well, oh well, you know, sort of effect to it. She didn't really feel bad or good about it.
I agree with you what you just said at the end there. My take is very similar to Jay's. Basically she was an artist.
Yeah.
They like going to art shows, operas. They critiqued, poorly written art shows. And their relationship was one that was, organic. I'm talking about Michonne and the father of her child and her boyfriend. The best friend was like a tag along third wheel type of guy, but he was accepted. He seemed to be friends with both.
Mm-hmm.
The child, was the light of Michonne's eye. And when the scene turned with Michonne putting the kitchen knife into the knife holder and pulling out the katana blade, it showed that she had skills in fencing. And then when everything started to erode and deteriorate, the first thing they said was Michonne had a skill. So Michonne was protecting them. And Michonne obviously was given this responsibility from whatever group they were in to be part of a scavenging team, because they kept saying, you got a skill. They want you to do that. And it also tied into what the governor was saying to Michonne. Hey, look, you could be part of our army. So Michonne has always heard this. And she, this proved that she heard this before from people when the governor said to her, you could be part of our army. She saw through it because it reminded her of what her boyfriend and friend said. Hey, I've heard this before. I've heard people want me in their army, in their group. And look what happened. It got somebody close to me killed. So Michonne goes on a scavenging hunt, goes out to get food. Obviously, she has to be used because of her skills with the katana blade. So it was almost like they talked her into it. So that was the conversation at the dinner table when everything deteriorated, where the two of them were trying to tell Michonne, hey, look, you got this skill. You need to go out there and you need to get us food. This is the only way we're going to survive. This is what we have to fight for. And Michonne left. She came back and she had already said the two of them got high. Their son died. So when she left, some people deal with the apocalypse in different ways. These guys were getting high, probably, doing some sort of drugs. Their attention was diverted. The little boy got killed. Michonne came to see that. Probably saw the whole, her whole camp decimated.
Yeah.
What she did in turn, when she probably was trapped, she cut off the arms, cut off the jaws, when she realized the walkers didn't attack each other. And this goes back to the comic book. This is her backstory in the comic book. She used them, as protection. And as Jay said, she couldn't protect her son, but they couldn't protect her son, but they ended up protecting her anyways. But that was the dinner table conversation, was she had to be part of that army or part of that scavenging group because she was so skilled with her sword. And it ties into season 3 when the governor says, hey, we could use somebody like you. It's the same thing. So it was almost like brilliantly tying those two together. So that was a great question. You look deeper into it, you'll see what I'm saying. Jay made a great point there. Hope we answered that for you. Look back at season 3 where, the governor talks to Michonne and tries to recruit her. And then look at that scene at the dinner table. It wasn't them, shunning Michonne. It was them trying to tell Michonne, you have a skill. We don't have it. You have to go out there. We can't earn our keep, but you can earn our keep for all of us. So, that was brilliantly written, again, in this episode by Kirkman. He purposely put that in there. So
yeah, and it was great. Yeah, great scene. I love that transition too.
Yep. And it showed you the world deteriorate in the background. Yep. Obviously, the sun disappeared, and then
some of the questions we received too in the past is like, how do people make that transition from being like who they were to who they are now? And there it is in time lapse form there for Michonne. I mean, she was just, let's talk about art. That was her day. Complaining about art, and now it's like, all right, I have to chop off the arms of my boyfriend because my baby was bad. Fun times. Correct. And she made that switch. I tell you what.
Celestine here. Another question here. I think we might have touched base on this last week. I'm gonna repeat it because I'm not sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Was what happened to Lily? I mean, not. I'm sorry. What happened to Lily, Chalmers, in after she shot the governor? I'm sorry, I read that wrong. What happened to Lily Chalmers after she shot the governor? So, in the second episode, Glenn finds Tara.
Yeah.
And Tara is catatonic. She's not. She's just. She's in grief. She's grieving, and she's basically giving up. Glenn, asked her what's going on. She said, I just watched everybody I love die, my girlfriend, my niece, and my sister. And right after Lily shot the governor, she was swarmed by walkers, and she was eaten alive. She's either a pile of organs or she's a walker herself at this point, but she didn't survive. She got over, they basically swarmed her, and that was it. She couldn't fight them. She couldn't fight them off, and all Tara could do was sit and watch. And
yeah, and she was probably not in this right state of mind either. Having her daughter die and then seeing everybody else she knows die, and then shooting the governor, she was probably just zoning out, and then just the walkers just swarmed her.
Correct. Last question. We're doing 4 tonight because we are actually on good time. Was Lizzie's psychotic change due to her father dying in the prison? No. It was not. If you remember in episode 1, now her father died in episode 2. Episode 1, she's naming the walkers.
Yeah.
Episode 2, Karen goes into the bathroom and she sees pictures that Lizzie drew of walkers with names and whatever. Now, her father died during the walker attack caused by Patrick. So Lizzie already, and again, you have to remember, this is like a year and a half or so after the outbreak started. So, you got Lizzie and Mika as kids, just like Carl and any other child. Mm-hmm. They have seen so much, death and destruction, from walkers or from walkers and humans, that it can actually cause them to go crazy too. They're people too, and their minds are still forming. They're growing mentally, and they're like sponges. They absorb stuff. So she absorbed, death as a positive. So her father dying was just more, I think it was, this is something that a lot of people wouldn't have caught. I don't think she was crying because her dad died. And I don't think she couldn't kill her father. I think she wanted her father to turn, and she was upset that Carol killed her father, like was going to kill her father. She did not want Carol to kill her father. She didn't want to kill her father.
Like if he turns and comes back, then he's still there with her.
Exactly. So, and that was answered later in the episode where she killed her sister and was like, look, she's going to turn, she'll still be with us. So if you really look closer at the Lizzie story, she wanted her dad to, she was kind of like, I don't want to kill him. She could have, but she's like, I don't want to do this. She didn't want to kill the guy that had the oxygen mask on, the ventilator or whatever he was, the breathing mechanism that they used to keep him alive and they stole for Glenn. So, she doesn't want to kill these walkers. She doesn't, she said it before. I didn't want to shoot, Tara's girlfriend in the head. I wanted to shoot her so she could turn. Yeah. So Lizzie was sick before this, and
she might have been sick before the apocalypse. It's something that might have been developing, but this just triggers it.
It took the apocalypse to trigger it. Yeah.
I mean, there's no help. There's no counselors.
Nope.
There's no therapists,
nope.
And you don't pay as much attention to necessarily kids' special needs now because you're just trying to feed them and protect them otherwise.
A little thing here, another thing that people won't catch, and this is from mental health. Children will draw pictures, and you can usually tell the personality of a child or if a child is going to have psychological problems in the pictures they drew.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie is drawing pictures of the walkers, but the walkers are kind of like happy walkers, and if you look close, the children in the pictures are sad. So it's like, if you, like Jay said, if you did have these social workers or if you had therapists and stuff, they would be able to identify things like this, where Karen looked at it and smiled and thought, oh, this is cute, kids drawing pictures, so she definitely had problems going into this. And like I said before, she's a manipulator. She, it gets deeper when you think that she couldn't kill her father because it's her father. She didn't want to kill her father because she wanted him to turn. So you got to look at those things. So her father's death definitely did not cause her to go crazy. So hopefully that, you look back at it and you say, oh yeah. I hope that you get that correlation there. If not, I tried. I tried my hardest on that one, but that's what I do, man. I look for little shit like that, and like I said, Jay is my, he's my co-pilot here, and if I miss something, he's definitely on it. So, thank you for the questions.
Yeah,
four great questions.
I actually got a question for the viewers.
There you go.
All right, if you guys could choose one group to be tagged along with, the ones that escaped the prison, which one would it be?
Ooh, look at Jay. What the hell is going? Jay had a birthday in April. This is what happens.
Go off the deep end. There's some good choices out there. You got Tyrese and Carol. You got, Daryl and Beth. You can go with Rick, Michonne, and Carl. You can go with Glenn and Tara.
Sasha, Bob, and Maggie.
Yep.
All right, so let's answer this question. And Jay, what group would you go with there?
Let's see. Let's see what the viewers come back with first. Don't want to, I guess, persuade them any which way. So if you guys want to, comment down below.
This might be the worst cliffhanger since this season 6.
Don't go and tell James at work. All right, let's get some comments on these videos. Let's get some discussions going.
Listen, if you watch the show tomorrow and then you email me the group, I'll read it and won't tell Jay that I read it, and I'll pretend that I didn't read it because I'm not gonna know what it's gonna say in the email.
Get online, guys. Help us out. Start commenting on those videos and tell us what you guys think.
Definitely, man. I can't wait till next week. We're in season 5, a strong episode, and hopefully, we have another great 2 episodes for you, and then we're going into the top 5. What are we gonna do, Jay? Top 5 movies, games?
Let's do a poll. We'll do a poll online.
Okay.
Once again, I gotta get you guys into the net over here. Let's do a poll. We'll go, movies, shows, books, video games, basically all the different, media that we can think of, and get your guys' opinions on which one you guys want to see first.
Yep.
There's definitely a plethora of options out there. So
there you go. And if we don't hear back from enough of you, I'm just gonna pick.
Yeah.
All right, man. Great show. Get ready for Fear the Walking Dead's coming on in June. We got 3 more.
Yes.
1, 2, 3 more shows, and then 4 more shows. We'll have the recap of season 1 and 2, and then guess what? We're into June, people, and Fear the Walking Dead will be here. So just like that, the summertime is rolling around. Thanks again for the questions. Jay had a great show here. He was on point. And I think it's because it's his birthday. And he went to that Waffle House and had extra syrup on stuff.
Maybe it's the Nebraska air. I don't know.
All right, man. Check out our charities. Check out the website. Jay and Kelsey had an incredible show. Beer and a board game. I checked it out. I liked it.
Yeah.
Especially that I played Camp Grizzly, and that's one of my favorite board games to play.
Yes.
You guys got to check out the website. You got to check out the YouTube channel, echo5studios.com. Go down the playlist, but definitely check out that new show because I liked it.
Yeah, Camp Grizz is a great game if you guys like Friday the 13th, like the original ones, not like Friday the 13th in space or anything
No,
like that.
yeah. After part 5, it was. After part 4, it was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So it takes you in a camp back in the late 70s, early 80s, and you're being hunted by a murderer wearing a bear mask.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, and we pair it with a seasonal bear that kind of coincides with the board game. That's something we're going to continue on doing. It's definitely fun. Speaking of beer, you ever tried the Walking Dead special beer yet? I haven't got a chance to actually try it out yet.
Is that exclusive to where you are?
I don't know. I know they make it. I gotta check that down. I forgot who actually makes that.
I would just buy it and look at it. I wouldn't even drink it.
Right?
Like
it's a hard price.
You know how I am. I haven't taken that. You guys got me that Michonne, Walking Dead Michonne, black and white, for my 30th birthday. I have not taken it out of I haven't taken it out of the box. So, I get a little bit silly when it comes to like collecting things, I guess. But I would have skunked Walking Dead beer for like 30 years.
Right?
I don't know. Don't open that shit. My son will turn 21 and Dad, nope, leave that alone.
You're gonna find it and you're just gonna be like, it's gonna be empty. You're like, that son of a bitch. It's
that's fighting words right there, man.
Yep.
Great show, man.
Likewise.
Thank you for the questions again, and tune in for us next week.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Once again, charity is still American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Links are down below. If you can donate, please donate. If you can donate, just like, subscribe, share this video with friends. Every little bit does help, and all proceeds go towards charity. Other than that, hey, I appreciate all the questions like James said. The feedback is great. Just keep it coming. And if you guys can, jump online and leave us some comments on the YouTube channel there of the question I asked.
Yo.
On that, guys, we'll see you guys next week. We're going to do Wednesdays from now on live, and then they'll be up Thursday, probably at 10 a.m. on YouTube for you guys. So stay tuned. If you're not already following us on Facebook or Twitter, please go ahead and do that so you guys can be kept up to date as far as postponements or updates as times or different shows that come on. And, yeah, once again, thank you guys. We do appreciate every single thing you guys do for us.
Bye. Have a good night, man. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. See you guys.